Welcome aboard, folks. I'm Stephen Malkowich, your captain on this adventure called Ship of Fools. I'm a fool. Lucky for you, I'm not sailing solo. Join me and a boatload of people, all just trying to make sense of this crazy world. It's a fabulous mess, and you're invited. In this episode, we speak with Natasha Chawla, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at ACEL Electric Motors.
His dad was one of the first inverter manufacturers in China way back in the 80s, 90s. So they have, from a...
What's an invert?
Inverter is a part of a motor, which is a technical component that is a part of an electric system.
Okay.
So he was one of those first manufacturers, and he, essentially they have that foundation. He's an engineer by profession himself. So it runs in the family. Very early on, Anthony, just coming out of school, wanted to do something. And he went to his dad and said, okay, I want to put together a product and I want to build a product, the inventor in him. And his dad said, oh, it's easy to make a product as an engineer. I think you should go and sell something first, learn how to sell something first. So he started an e-commerce company. And that e-commerce company, he ran that e-commerce company for 8 to 9 years. And he really took it to a different level, kind of made like $150 million cumulative over those years. And then COVID hit. So at that point of time, there was the time he had on his hands, and he decided, let me go back to what I wanted to do. And he went back to the patents his dad has, and he went back to looking at what he could potentially invent. And he, just being a boater he has a passion for boating. It totally clicked him, and he said, okay, let's just now look at electric propulsion. And that's where the idea came up. And so from there on, within a span of 2.5 to 3 years, he came the idea, then, prototyping, testing, and then the first units in the market. So that's his story.
So how, what you just said in 5 seconds,
It wasn't 5 seconds, it was a few years.
But I've seen you. I've seen that you showed me the videos.
Yes,
these are actual. They're outboard motor and like.
Oh, they're real motors.
50 horsepower. You're working on a 250 horsepower.
That's right.
These are real.
They're real motors.
They're real motors.
They're real motors. They're not like toys.
Yeah.
No, they're not toys. They're real motors. They come with a battery pack and they come with a full system. So that was one of the things that he figured out, is that, when people in this industry talk about a motor, they just talk about a physical motor. And then somebody else was providing a battery and somebody else. So the industry was very, very nascent. And so there's a lot of issues that were coming up. So what he thought was, how about I put together a comprehensive integrated ecosystem? And that's where the whole, I would say, shift happens, is because when you create an ecosystem, then you're integrating it with software and you're using components that are more futuristic. So that's where I would say the differentiation comes in. So, yeah.
So they come up, the brothers together. They come up and they begin to make some prototypes, and decide to do that in Canada. Okay.
Yeah. So they're a Canadian company, but they do manufacture in China.
In China.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the reasons why their manufacturing is in China is primarily because of the foundation of their father. And that helps them with the supply chain, primarily because they have deep-rooted relationships. And we're kind of using all the tier 1 automotive supply chain. Okay. So we want to make sure that, whatever components we have are tested for over years, because they've been tested in automotive. So, and because of that experience, we were able to go from ground zero to having a product in less than 3 years, because that is something that doesn't happen often. So I think it was a great leap for them. And so, yeah, they're right now we're a Canadian company. We manufacture in China and we supply all over the world.
Mm-hmm. So when we had initially talked, and we were talking about this electric outboard motor, I immediately think of that, the Canadian Tire one that you can just put on a trolling, but that's just a little tank. And when you showed me what you were doing, I was, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How does that work? Now, you've been out in the market. You've been obviously, you're aware of what's happening around the world. Okay. There, and I believe I may have, and I apologize if I've asked you this question before, but as for competition, there really isn't anyone doing what you are doing.
I would say, there's always competition and upcoming competition, but every competitor is unique in its own way. What we have is, we've come out with a 50 and 75 horsepower. That is a sweet spot that we believe for a certain type of boat and vessel, and that's something that doesn't exist in the market right now. In the higher horsepower, there are a couple of competitors, but again, what we provide as a complete ecosystem is something that's unique to us. Engineers like to do complicated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the small ones that you're talking about, the little toys, as we call them, there's a place for them. There's a great place for them. But we're in the what we call the high horsepower, high voltage segment.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we are.
And it's fresh water or salt water.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Yeah. Have the motor rigged on your boat and go sailing.
And you don't, and the thing is that you don't like these, and the other question that I'm sure a lot of people would, you don't need, it's just you put it on a regular boat, mm-hmm. obviously, but mm-hmm. you have to have a battery pack. Now explain that whole process,
yeah.
Like everyone's familiar, I'm sure, that would watch this or listen to this would understand, okay, well, the Tesla car, like a EV vehicle you plug in, just like you charge up your phone. Explain that process as it relates to these marine.
Yeah. So if you look at the traditional motors, there's just a motor and a gas tank, right? So we're replacing that. And so we replace that with a motor, which is a physical outboard motor. And that comes in various sizes, whether it's a 50 horsepower, 75, 150, 250. But what runs the motor is the battery, right? So it's a battery pack consists of various modules. So let's take 75 for an example. 75 horsepower is the continuous power, and the peak power for 75 is 115. What that essentially means is that you can go from 0 to 115 in less than 2 seconds. And you can also stay at that for almost 2 minutes. So that's a huge thing when it comes to, planing or certain situations. Yeah. Now, the battery pack a standard battery pack that comes with a 75 is a 43 kilowatt hour battery pack. So it comes in 3 modules. So 3 separate, boxes or so to speak of battery. Now, all of that is integrated with what we call a battery management system and electrical control unit, ECU, which we call an intelligent power supply. So all of that is integrated through, software, as well as is on, what is the marine standards of NEMA. And we also provide the throttle and the screen, which eventually you're able to actually see what's happening live, the performance of the motor, the performance of the motor.
As you accelerate the power,
the tilt, the trim, you can see everything that's going on in the motor. You're actually seeing on the screen. And that entire system is what we provide. So we don't just provide the motor and the gas tank. We provide everything that comes with it. So that's the difference, and that's what Tesla does, is that when you sit in a Tesla, you see a full screen, right? You change your gears differently in Tesla. It's the same principle here. The throttle is a digital throttle here. So those are the key components that we provide now as we grow, because technology improves, very, very quickly. So we are going to be integrating our systems with AI. So what that essentially means is that if there is a route that, let's say a fisherman has taken, or there is an area that they've identified that, the depth in that area is potentially, changing very often. Those kind of pieces of information, the data that we're collecting, can be really helpful.
So that data that you're collecting will be what, through the sensors on the boat or
multiple things. Yeah, it will be effectively the sensors on the boat. As of now, it's a future vision. What we have as of now is more about the data that we're collecting for the motor itself and the performance, because that in itself is great inputs. What we're going to collect in the future can be autonomous related features, so many different kind of applications and situations. And there will be sensor, they will be connected to the sensors. We're also doing a project with, an autonomous company here, which we've been funded by the Canadian government. It's called the Ocean Supercluster, where we're building what we call is an AI autonomous toolkit. I can't talk more about that, but this is something that's in the works right now with a lot of features that will be able to support different kind of applications.
Okay, so just to dumb things down for me, currently, because I'm not a boater, as you know, in the marine world, and for an example, if I'm in the Georgia Strait, if I'm just off the coast here, and there's a floating deadhead like a log, how is that? You just got to be watching for it.
You just watch for it. A lot of times you hit it. You hit it, okay. and then you figure out what you got to do next, right? Okay. And that's what changes. So that's the communication protocol that we're going to be creating, is that when we see a log, we can actually transmit the message to people around and say log, 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 log. So people are aware now. So so to really simplify it, that's how the communication protocol is going to be. It's going to be able to, we're going to be able to see it before. And we're going to be able to communicate to people around it. We're going to be able to track it, all of those features.
Okay. So in essence, like Waze does right now, it's reported each person that has Waze.
Yes.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about.
So
that also has implications with regards to safety.
Absolutely.
If somebody falls overboard or somebody I'm going back now. I was reading an article, or I was watching something recently about and it involved the Doge cuts, and one of the cuts that were being made was they were studying ocean currents when people fall out of a boat, and that saved lives. They tied it all around to how it saves lives. So I didn't realize that, like on the oceans, people fall off of cruise ships, they fall off of fishing boats. That happens a lot. And the whole reason this came up was the fellow who was sort of pioneered this and has helped the Coast Guard find people, because if you don't find them within a certain period of time, they're even in a life jacket.
Yeah.
So I immediately, when I was watching, I was thinking about you guys. In the last discussion we were talking about. So the implications here about what you're doing are it's not just that you have an electric propulsion motor. It's the software. It's a whole package.
It's the future, I would say. There's so many features that are related to safety. If you look at the statistics, in the insurance industry, one of the biggest claims is for collision and accidents, right? That's the biggest claim. And if you can prevent those claims because of software and data and communication, that's really supporting the industry. I mean, I was in India a few weeks ago, and we were sitting with a big shipyard, and they were talking about a similar situation, and where collisions and accidents are a very common thing. And World Bank is funding a lot of those projects to actually support collision avoidance, or any kind of, as they call it, catastrophic avoidance. So when we talk about software, when we talk about autonomous features, these are the kind of features we're talking about. These are the kind of, little, I would say, additions that we're going to have, which is why we say it's not just about electrification. It's about the digitalization of it, because Electric is the foundation of it. And that's where it allows us to go to the next level of saying, okay, we can provide for so many features. I mean, I'll break it down and simplify a very, very small thing. Not about collisions, not about this. There's something called winterization of boats, right? Often people forget to switch off their lights. Simple thing like you're sitting at home, you can switch off the light on your phone. Often people don't have cameras in their boats, and there's a lot of theft on boats. You can track that. So in the absence of this digitalization, you're not able to do all of that. So these are like small things, but they're real.
They're
right?
real. They're real. So the existence of the company. How old is the company now?
So the company was launched in 2021. Mm-hmm. So we're coming on 4 years now. 4 years. Yeah.
And so what you've been, how long have you been with the company?
I've been with the company for almost 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah, I call myself the dinosaur.
So currently you're located here in the Lower Mainland. Mm-hmm. For those of you that don't know, we're in British Columbia.
Beautiful British Columbia.
Beautiful British Columbia. And you have a team of developers that are working like full time on this.
Full time
on this.
Yeah.
And you have a facility in mainland China.
Yes, we do in Shenzhen, China.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the makeup of your board. You have some pretty
good stuff.
Yeah, on that board.
Yes, we do. We've got a camera on the cowling, which is again a technological breakthrough, and it was interesting. When you're with a set of engineers, they were like, yeah, we just have a camera. They don't think anything of it. But I was like, okay, I'm not an engineer by profession. So I'm like, okay, no, when I go out and I go to a show and I'm looking at all these motors and there is no camera. And I'm like, this is something great. Uh-huh. Why are we not talking about this? And he's like, yeah, it's just a camera. But the reality is what we've done is we've got a patent on the cowling, which gives us the opportunity to, put a camera, have the connections on the cowling to let the camera run. So what that camera does is helps with real-time viewing, helps with night vision, rear view. Docking is one of the biggest challenges you can ask for in any kind of, to any boater. Mm-hmm. It's a real pain. So if you can have that assisted docking, that is super helpful. I mean, today, nobody looks back when you're driving to park your car. You can see the camera and you can just pull in. Yeah. And that's the exact same thing what the camera is going to do for the motor. So that's something really unique in terms of a motor. And a motor is very simple, just has an inverter motor and a pump. Unlike a mechanical motor where there are so many parts, this is a very, very simple motor. And what it does, therefore, because it's so simple, it allows for, low maintenance, right? So that's another great feature about electric as a whole.
So if let's just use a 75 horsepower motor. With a 75 horsepower motor, let's talk about you said that the battery was just three packs.
Yes.
Right. How long would it take to charge that?
That's a very interesting question. So it's 3 modules, and we call one pack, which includes those 3 modules.
Okay.
So charging is very dependent on the shore power, right? If you have the infrastructure for a fast charger, you can charge in an hour. But if you're putting it in your home outlet, let us say in your garage, then it could take anything between, again, depending on the charger, it could take anything between, 16 hours to 20 hours, right? So that's the 3-pack, 43 kilowatt hour battery pack.
Okay. So, and what would the weight of that be?
So I would say the 3-pack is somewhere around the 680 pounds, or around 310 kilos or approximately. If my math is not wrong.
Okay.
But that's the weight of the batteries. So what we look at it this way is that when you're removing the gas tank and you're removing the fuel from the gas tank, you're replacing it with the batteries. Yeah.
So the next question would be, with that, how, because I know a lot of people would be curious for this next question, the answer to this. How, okay, if I'm out, let's say I'm out in Lake Okanagan and I've got a 75 horsepower and I've got this pack, just in general terms, how long can I go? How long can I go out on that? And I know what you're gonna say. Say, well, it depends if you gas it, right? If you just jam it down, push the pedal down, not very long.
Yeah.
But that's the same with a gas power too. You're gonna burn a lot of gas.
Yeah.
So to give in generalities.
So in generality, what we usually say is, again, it depends answer, because there's a lot of there are a lot of tangibles that one has to consider, like the weight of the boat, the number of people on the boat, but I would say in general, I would say a 43 kilowatt hour battery pack for a 75 horsepower motor, which is typically a 55 kilowatt, I would say the battery would be anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour full throttle, right? So you're going full on, Now, if a pleasure craft boater, particularly in Canada, likes to go, at more like a cruising speed, or just has an initial thrust, goes in the middle of the lake, and then spends their day there. So those are the ideal scenarios for electric, because with electric, you have, instant torque, and you can go in, instant acceleration, and you can go in, and it might take you 4, 5, 7 minutes to go in. And then you're at probably 5 knots, 10 knots. The battery consumption is very low at that. So then you can spend a good 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours in the water and then come back. So essentially, long story here, but if you're going full throttle, keep it around 45 minutes to an hour. If you're going 50% throttle, add in another 45 minutes, an hour. So that's how, but if you're going 5 knots, you could be in water for a good long time.
Okay. Now and I know your marketing efforts are worldwide.
Yes.
You're not, it's not just North America, it's the world.
That's right.
Is your market. And you've made some inroads, you've made some announcements that have been made public in the last little while in regards to partnerships that you've made, and distribution deals that you made. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we've been, I would say very lucky, because the industry as a whole is starting to adopt electric, and a lot of that is driven by the regulations in various parts of the world. For example, in Europe, in China, in India, there are regulations to actually convert either full fleet or majority of their fleet into renewable sources of energy. So we've had a partnership with in India to build water ferries, where the partnership was with Ministry of Defense of India. In China and Taiwan, we've partnered with 2 companies. We've partnered with Gospel Boats, where we're going to be converting over 1,000 boats over the next 5 years into electric. So a big, significant chunk of their overall fleet is going to be converted into electric.
And what is their fleet? What does their fleet do?
Again, all types of boats, work boats, pleasure craft boats, all kinds of boats.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a partnership with Vivek. Now, Vivek is a very big company, and the parent company is Kashing. And Vivek is their yacht builder. It's a yacht building company, and so we're partnering with them to come out with a 38-foot yacht, a 55-foot yacht, just to show the world that this is also possible. Now, we do understand that electric is not possible for every scenario, and that's where the hybrid comes in. So the 38 feet Vivek that is going to be launched, I would say, I think maybe in the next 10 days or so, is going to be a hybrid solution.
You must have been reading my mind, because that was my next question, was the hybrid.
Yeah, it's a twin 75 inboard with a range extender, a gas range extender.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a gas generator. Then we have other partnerships. We're going to be launching a partnership soon in Spain, where we've tied up with a boat builder who is coming out with a exclusive line of electric with our motors. We're working with a partner in the Middle East, where they're working with a lot of I would say commercial operators to convert their fleet into electric. So there's a lot on the go right now.
So I would imagine, and that's all you.
Yeah,
that's your show.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So you're the one out there.
I'm the one out there knocking on the doors, walking into the offices. But it's fun because it takes a lot of education. Any industry shift or any category shift takes a lot of education, and we understand that there's an apprehension, there are questions. So we're there to hold the hands of our boat builders and dealers and distributors to explain to them. And that's something that we do differently. What we do is we don't just sell the motor to a customer. That's not what we do. We work with as we say, the B2B audience, because we want to make sure that we're explaining to them how is the motor going to be fitted into your boat, right? So what are the changes that you need to do to your boat? We work with them very closely. We have naval architects on our team who actually look at the drawings of the boat and actually suggest, okay, this is where you need to put the battery, the system, the BMS, etc. So we literally hold their hand through the entire process. As well, we want to make sure that people feel comfortable. So, we've, our service and maintenance support, everything is given to the B2B customer, which they can translate to the B2C customer.
So let's talk adoption.
Yeah.
Because your market is the world.
Yes.
Let's just start with Canada, for instance. What has been the reception in the Canadian market?
It's very positive. I mean, we are there's a confidential project. I can't talk much about it, but it's going to be getting launched very soon. A project of which is going to make a big change in terms of the passenger vessels that are happening. What we do believe is that, once the commercial operators have taken that on, that's when
It wouldn't be the water taxis that are in downtown Vancouver, would it be?
Those, no.
Oh, okay. I see.
But that could be soon. Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah. So we're looking at passenger vessels. We're looking at a lot of other commercial, workboat operators who are working with us. And we do feel that those are going to be good examples for the recreational people to look at it and then adopt electric. I do feel that, electric adoption needs a little bit of support from the government, because it needs that subsidy for, because there is an upfront cost.
Yes.
But the long-term cost is, of course, much lower when it comes to electric. But there is an upfront cost, and therefore there's that education piece required, and subsidies from the government help in that acceleration, which is what happened to Tesla.
Yeah, very large.
Yes, very large. So
very large.
Which is where I feel the adoption. So Canadian adoption is pretty positive. Europe is very, very far ahead in terms of adoption. That's definitely a great opportunity market, as we say. US, I would say, is a little bit slower. US likes their sound and the smell of the gas,
the roar of the engine,
and the roar of the engine. But again, I think it's not something that it's almost like saying that when computers came in. So some people adopted it sooner and some took the time. So, but eventually there is going to be an adoption. And I also think that the world is waiting for the battery technology to improve, which improves by almost 8 to 10% every year. So as the battery technology improves, the weight of the battery starts to go down, the performance starts to get better. I think there's a much, much higher chance of adoption.
So if you were to, you said the Canadian market is very open to this innovation. The American market is more into the, they're the old school kind of thing. The European markets, the Asian markets,
very high up in terms of adoption. And a lot of that is coming from, a lot of those countries have to meet the standards, sustainability standards. And so they have these big projects, like India has something called the India Maritime 2030 Vision, Middle East has a similar one, and China. I know that China and Taiwan, all of them have these kind of big projects that are all about conversion into electric. So not just electric, renewable sources of energy. So yes, there's a big push in those markets as well.
So the next in the and I believe I've asked you this, but in the recreational market, with the motor, you'd have no problem pulling a skier, pulling
no.
Like it's just you're and do you currently in the British Columbia market, aside from, I know you've done some testing here locally, have you gone to Lake Okanagan, or have you gone to any the lakes and
we actually have a dealer in the Okanagan area, and he's got this beautiful 1950 wooden boat that he repurposed and made it into electric. And it's repowered.
Who is that? What's
Petawatts.
Petawatts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vernon.
Okay, in Vernon.
Yeah. So, yes, we've gone into the Okanagan lakes. We've tested. Keep in mind, there is another component of, when we talk electric, one of the things that we provide is customizability or adaptability. So, for example, if you need a higher range, you can add more battery packs. So we start 3 is the starting point for a 75 horsepower. You could take it to 6, you could take it to 9, and the configuration can keep adding up.
So every time when you that is all customizable. So
that is customizable.
It's all customizable, and so you're basically saying, okay, you've got the boat, and this is what I want to do with it. Yeah. And
we provide you with a solution. And often, a lot of time, sometimes we hear there's a smaller boat and then it requires a smaller battery. So we offer 2 types of batteries. One is the LFP batteries, which is the lithium iron phosphate batteries. And then we also offer the semi-solid state batteries. So think of the battery where inside the battery, the liquid is not a liquid, but instead is a gel. So those batteries are have a much higher energy density, and they are therefore smaller in terms of size and weight. So that's where the adaptability comes in. So if you have a big boat and weight is not a problem and you can keep adding more battery packs, great. If you have a smaller boat but you need still a higher energy density, you can add the semi-solid state. So we're giving a lot of options. And if you have a really, really big yacht, as I mentioned, and you still need to run, you can have a hybrid solution. We can configure with solar power. We can configure with, gas generators, diesel generators, anything.
Okay. So now, for those people that were kind of skeptical like me initially, and it took me, like I said, all of 5 or 10 minutes of talking to you the first time we met.
I remember.
Good. You guys are trying to be Teslas.
Yeah.
Okay? But it took me a while to get over the electric part of it and water. I couldn't get over it. For those people out there that are going, okay, it's preposterous.
So all our entire system is what is called an IP67 rating. What that means is that you can actually take the component and submerge it into water. So it's safe for water.
There's not and salt water, nothing.
Nothing. That's definitely the least of the worries.
Least of the worries from an engineering perspective.
Yeah. It's totally safe. I mean, I remember asking this question to the engineers, and they said, okay, think about it this way. Do you not use water in your own home? Do you not use electricity in your own home? Yeah. So it kind of matches, right? So you just have to have the right configuration set up. You have to have the right certifications, and then it's fine.
Now, interestingly enough, if I wanted, let's say, if I wanted to have and maybe they exist already because I'm not a mariner. I mean, do they have electric Sea-Doos? Do they have?
Oh, yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
I didn't.
There are a lot of jet skis, and there was a company called Taiga who was doing these jet skis, and they did a really good job. I think they're not existent. Maybe we have to cut this part.
That's all right. That's fine.
Let's not talk about the other company. But jet skis are there in the market, and we have a sister company called X-Craft, and they are focused on jet skis.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're doing the electric jet skis.
Because that one to me would be.
Yeah.
Because there's so many.
Totally. Yeah. That's perfect for resorts and, rental clubs and, recreational opportunities. So that's perfect for those kind of applications.
Okay. So now let's we've talked a lot about the motor and we've talked a little bit about the software, but there's more to the you said. There's more to that software that there's so many data points, so much data that you can be gathering.
Yeah.
Is if you were to narrow it down to saying the most important, aside from seeing that, obviously seeing a dashboard and when you accelerate in the consumption, what is the most in your travels when you talk to around the world, aside from just plain and simple saying this is electric propulsion motor, what is the biggest data point that these customers are looking for? And I mean B2B customers are looking for.
I would say there are a couple of them. Of course, there's the fundamentals of how your motor's working, etc. What's the speed of your motor? What's the speed of where's the battery? What's the storage? Marine industry, they're very, very interested in knowing the weather conditions, right? So what are the tidal waves? All of those components are very critical because with the changes of the tide, the depth of the water can change and so many different things. So I remember there was some time back, there was a boat somewhere here in Vancouver where a boat got stuck because the water depth went down. So now that is a very important data point. The other important data point is the navigation, the map and the navigation. And so we have our own operating system and we work with multiple other partners who can provide us with these configurations that we combine with our own operating system. We're looking at, eventually looking at providing maps like Google Maps to a boater. So when you're going in the water, okay, what's the route you're taking, why you should take this route versus this route, depending on the weather conditions. And what is because if you think about boating is a recreational activity for a lot of people. So what they're interested in, okay, what's the nearby cafes? Where are the nearby charging stations? So all of that information becomes really important. But I think everything, these are to me very functional related features. But where the digitalization is really going to make an impact is in the safety. Is that data point is going to be very critical for the future of the marine industry.
So, and this is what was shocking to me, that how little data there was.
Yes, there is very little. Because again, it goes back to the fact that there is no digitalization in the industry.
And as for the there's big players, like really big players in the marine industry that are making gasoline powered, diesel powered, and are they toiling around in this sector, or are they like?
I think it started. So I do believe it started because you can see the shift in terms of, what they're presenting at, as the future, right? Because any of these bigger competitors, and you go to the trade show, they're either launching a small electric system or they're potentially taking over another company that has had electric, or they're launching a system with hydrogen fuel cell, something or the other. So you can see that they understand that there is a market for this. And this is only going to grow. And we cannot we cannot have our blinders on. We have to understand and accept that this is a change that is going to come. It's about how we adapt and adopt that change.
So, I'm more interested, and I know you're going the B2B route, but let's go back to on the recreational side. Who on the recreational side, what in your travels, who's been the most receptive? Meaning, and I know you're dealing with distributors, but who's been the most, like, who's, I'm not saying who's sold the most.
I would say there's a type of boat which is really, I would phrase it a little differently. There are certain type of boats for which electric is perfect and certain type of applications for which electric is perfect. So let's look at a boat like pontoons. Pontoons are one of the biggest selling boats in North America. And the primary focus of the pontoons is a recreational vessel where people just sit in the boat and have a good day out with a family. The way the pontoon is built is perfect for electric because the way the structure of the hull is great for, I would say, the batteries to fit in. So I would say that's one kind of boat. Now, one of the reasons why we focus on B2B is because, as I said, we're not in the low voltage, low horsepower motors yet. And so it's not that you could take the motor and just put it at the back of your boat and go. There's a system here, right? You have to configure, even if it's very easy, it's a plug and play system, but it still requires a configuration. And that's why we want to go through the dealers who can help an end customer put together that configuration.
So, and the other issue too is I would imagine more so on the recreational side is powering up these. Marinas don't have. The majority of marinas out there, I don't have Well, they do.
Actually, to the contrary, because when Tesla came out, one of the biggest barriers was infrastructure, and that's not so much in marine. Reason being that they do have some kind of shore power, right? It's just the regular outlet. Even if it's a 15 amp outlet, they still have some kind of outlet. Now, that 15 amp outlet might take a long time to charge up. So there is a need for growing that infrastructure. Absolutely.
So, and once again, so if I'm the fellow that has in Vernon that has the
petawatts
has been outfitted with. So he obviously would have a marine and does he have? Is it the same type of charger that you're looking at for like a Tesla kind of thing where you got the?
So what we do is we provide a portable charger with our system. So that actually connects to the boat and connects to the charger. Right. So, connects to the outlet. Right. So now that gun can be connected to a fast charger. That's like a Tesla kind of a charger. It can be connected to your, home outlet wall, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
As long as it's getting what.
Did I say home outlet wall? No, outlet on the wall at home.
That's fine. That's fine. So your operations here in Vancouver are, I know you're located in Richmond. How many developers do you have on staff?
So we have, in total, our company, I would say, has around 55 people. Around 30 of them are in China, and the rest of them are in, 15 or 20 of them are in Canada. And we have a group of, software engineers. We have a group of electrical and electronic engineers. We have a group of naval architects, a full-fledged marketing and sales team. Finance team, HR team. So that's what our composition of our company is. Again, a lot of the hardware R&D happens in China. The software R&D happens here in Canada, and the manufacturing happens in China.
Okay, so if you were to project into the future, and you look at the time frame that we've been looking over the last 4 or 5 years. Where do you see, and I'm not just saying like the electric propulsion motor adoption over the next, say, 10 years? And because I haven't been to one of, and you've told me about some of the events that you've held, and everybody, you get a big crowd.
Yeah.
Because people are, Jesus, never seen anything like this. And that's and then the questions start. Okay, well, is this? And a lot of people don't even know about. Now, if somebody's listening or watching, they obviously it's ACEL.
Yeah.
That they're going to go to. If I do a Google search of electric propulsion pleasure craft motors, I did do that. There's not a lot that comes up.
There's not a lot. There are still a few, but there's not a lot. The industry is at its, very early, we're as we say, the pioneers in the industry. So there are a very, very few pioneers in the industry. What was your first part of the question?
I can't remember. Maybe, what was the first part of the question?
What was the first? Oh, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The way I look at it is that a lot of it is driven by the regulation. So different parts of the world, there is regulation by 2030, 2045. So you can see that there is a movement that is happening. Now, one of the first early adopters are going to be commercial operators. So like water taxis and passenger ferries, primarily because, there's a very, very strong ROI on them, primarily because they're going up and down, twice a day. And there is no gas that they're going to be filling, continuously. So that's where they're actually eventually within a year and a half, they make their money. And they're, eventually after that, everything was free for them.
Yeah.
And the motors and batteries, have a very, very long life cycle, So I see that especially the commercial operations being the first ones to be the early adopters. Now, there are some early adopters in terms of the recreational industries, people who like the Teslas, also like their boats to be electric, and that's a really great sign. But I do see that in the next, 5 to 10 years, I can't put a number to it, but I do feel that there's going to be a good shift towards electric. And I would say not just electric, let's put it this way, there'd be a good shift towards renewable sources of energy, electric being the number one of them.
Okay, well, on that note, Natasha, I would very much like to thank you for coming in today. It's been wonderful. And please, ACEL, you can check them out online. Okay, if anybody's interested. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. ACELpower.com. It's definitely great to be here, and I really think that this is a really great podcast that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
You may be asking yourself, what's any of this got to do with me? Absolutely nothing. Until next time.